Alright, in this session, we're going to show you how you can use VRS to extract a downed firefighter from a pitched roof. Now, the most likely cause of this would be your partner going into cardiac arrest. Heart attack is still the #1 killer of firefighters, statistically. And if you look at any ventilation tactic, it can be physically demanding, especially if we lose power to our saws and we got to do this manually. There's an actual incident that occurred back in November of 1994 in the city of Milwaukee, where one of their firefighters struck a high voltage wire with a roof ladder and got electrocuted, put him into full cardiac arrest. Fortunately, the fire was under control, so firefighters were able to lower him down through the hole they just cut, take him down through the interior out to the exterior, and initiate ALS interventions. They were able to use an AED, fully resuscitate him, and after extensive rehab, he came back to full duty. Now you can imagine taking a firefighter down through the hole, if that fire is controlled, is still going to take some time. If that fire wasn't controlled in the attic space, it's not even an option. We do have a couple other techniques that we can employ using the stick of an aerial ladder, the bucket of a tower ladder, maybe plugging in the FEPS, Firefighter Extraction Pulley System, but all those techniques take time. And remember, when a firefighter goes down in a full arrest, actually anytime somebody goes down in full arrest, we're dealing with a short window, typically that 4 to 6 minute window before we want to go, or before we transition from clinically dead to biological death. So we want to try to get those ALS interventions in place within that 4 to 6 minute window. The tactic that I'm going to show you using a VRS, you can get this firefighter off the roof in a minute and a half to 2 minutes. So it's very fast, very efficient. It's definitely not a John Wayne style tactic. This goes down, you see your partner, it's a witness arrest. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to transmit Mayday, and you need to get assistance to this location. So identify where you're at and get help on the way. I'm going to show you how we're going to go through all the individual steps. We'll have some blow-ups on this side, picture in picture. But to perform this tactic, you need 2 VRS. One system that the topside firefighter is carrying to lower the firefighter or belay them off the roof, and then a second system that we attach into the firefighter to pull them off the roof. Now, as I mentioned in the intro to phase 2 of our training, or using a VRS for victim rescue techniques, we group it into 2 categories, or 2 methods. There's primary deployment, where we take the hook and a carabiner and attach to the victim, and then there's a burn technique. For this method, we're going to be using a primary deployment technique. So I'm attaching a hook and an additional carabiner to the victim. All right, once my Mayday's transmitted, I need to get on the same ladder that the firefighter is down on. So if we're working with 2 roof ladders, I need to go transition to the other side. If I'm just working with a single one and I'm below them, I got to get above and on top. First thing you're always going to do is just make sure that this firefighter is completely unresponsive and he just isn't exhausted. Now remember, our systems are either going to be integrated, pre-attached to a belt or harness, or independent. You do not want to hook into this firefighter and be attached yourself, even on a lower pitched roof. There's just too great of a chance of you getting pulled off the roof. So what I want to do is I want to remote anchor. In other words, I want to establish an anchor point on the roof ladder that this firefighter is on. We have a couple options here. You could pull off your belt and wrap a rung, or a couple rungs. You could use your 9-foot webbing loop. I actually carry a 5.5-foot webbing loop that I use for drags, fast strapping, but just like any other section of webbing, it has a lot of uses. I'm going to wrap around 2 rungs. Now, one rung, if you guys remember, is rated at 1,000 pounds of compression strength. I always like to capture 2, even though one is plenty strong enough, it's just redundancy. I don't know if you can see this, show up on this top, but remember, where those roof hooks are, that tie-in piece is not really a rung. It's not as strong as the one that actually goes through the beams or rails. So always try to avoid wrapping into that roof hook set. Always go below that. Now I'm just going to do a simple basket. I'm going to take the webbing and I go under both rungs. That creates a nice simple basket, easy basket for me to attach into. Up the lead end of my system, and then I'm going to take the carabiner and I'm going to connect into that basket, and then I'm going to lock it off. The other thing I like to do is draw up the slack to get the F-fork and flash it close to each other. Now the fastest way to get this firefighter off is to simply connect into the SCBA. But remember, if we do that, we have to trust the integrity of the SCBA, which means that all the straps have to be fastened and secured and not compromised. I still see a lot of firefighters on the fire ground that neglect fastening their SCBA waist strap. If that waist strap isn't secure, this isn't going to work. And it's just too grave a chance of pulling the SCBA off the firefighter's body. So what we can do is we can do an SCBA conversion. You can run the SCBA waist strap in between the legs if you want. If you don't do that, you at least want to have that SCBA waist strap tight around the victim's waist. And what I mean by tight is if you were conscious, it would be uncomfortably tight, okay? Now, on the Firehawk, on the MSA Firehawk, we have that eyelet at the top of the back plate. That eyelet is rated at 1,000 pounds. It's also reliant on the shoulder straps. So if the shoulder straps are compromised, it doesn't matter what that eyelet's rated at. So what I like to do is also capture the DRD, or the drag rescue device. Now remember, the DRD is not rated. Our DRDs are not rated for vertical extraction, but it is a nice backup, an added redundancy in case the SCBA would fail, because that DRD is going to cinch up around the victim's chest and shoulders. So I'm always going to take advantage of it. It only takes a second or two to hook into, and then I need to capture the hook. Now, the primary method, the advantage of that is right now my F4 is auto locking. Okay, I don't have to worry about any slack coming out until I staff it. So it gives me both hands on the victim. I need another carabiner. You can grab that carabiner from your 9-foot webbing loop, or that auxiliary carabiner at the terminal end of your VRS. Those are your two options to pair it up with the flash. If this SCBA is compromised in any way, shape, or form, remember, we don't want to use it. In that case, we're going to fasten a full body hasty harness onto the victim using our 9-foot webbing loop. But it's important that you understand that that's going to add another 1.5 to 2 minutes to the extraction, because it's very difficult to fasten a full body hasty harness on a victim when you're working on a roof ladder, especially at a steep pitch. Okay? So first system hookup. I actually carry a second carabiner on my gear. I'm going to take that carabiner. I'm going to go through the eyelet of the SCBA. Now if you have some of our mutual aid departments have a G1, have G1 SCBAs. They don't have that eyelet. So there's a slightly different way that we would hook into the top of the back plate. I'm going to capture the DRD, and now I'm going to take the flash hook, I'm going to capture the hitching slot, I'm going to lock off the carabiner. I'm going to take the hook now, and I'm also going to capture a shoulder strap. I do not want this hook flopping around. There's too great of a chance that it could come off the SCBA and get hung up on the gutter lines and make that transition. So I want the full lead end of the system captured and secured. Now, everything's hooked up. I'm going to remove the system from our pocket. That's the advantage of us having the bag. I'm going to place it on the roof ladder. That allows me to move around the firefighter, okay? Because we need a second system now to pull this firefighter off the roof. I could grab it from the victim if he or she has one in their pocket, remember, right pants pocket. But the easiest, most efficient way is when your assistance is coming up to your location, you want to rotate the ladder, because we're not going to take them. If we had fire or smoke venting through the hole, we gotta stay away from here. So we're going to go off on this side. If the roof ladder terminates right at the soffit line, we'd rotate the ladder and we'd have it right in line, the extension ladder right in line with the roof ladder. We're going to take this firefighter off prone or on his or her stomach right down the roof deck. Because they're on their stomach, there's a lot of surface area contact with their body, a lot of resistance. So we need that second system to pull them off the roof and then away from the building. So as two firefighters come up, James came up, he's rotating the ladder into position. Another firefighter is going to come out, and they're going to start to pull out that auxiliary carabiner from the terminal end of their system. That firefighter would start ascending the ladder now, okay, past this auxiliary carabiner to me. This is the fastest way to get this firefighter off the roof with the second system. I'm going to come around the ankles, over the boots, above the feet, clip in, lock off, tension it so it's secure, so it's not going to get pulled off. Make sure they got tension so this stays nice and tight right at this point. Now again, we're secure with the auto-locking F4 or escape artist. What I'm going to do is start working my way up, taking this firefighter off the ladder. Because of the auto-locking DCD, There's nothing that I have to worry about. They're secure. I'm in a position. Firefighters are on the ground in position. I give them the go-ahead, start pulling them off the roof. Now, that firefighter at the roof line can stay on the extension ladder or come on the roof ladder. Ideally, staying on the extension ladder works best because there's a chance that a component of this victim's personal protective equipment could get hung up on that gutter or soffit E line. So they're there to assist that, okay? Guide them over the edge. All right, Justin, pull them off. Pull them straight down that center of that roof deck. So he's close to that firefighter on the ladder. You continue to pull them away from the building as I lay them all the way down to the ground. Again, working efficiently, 2 or 3 firefighters can have this victim off the roof in 1.5 to 2 minutes.